Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Handmade by Ying with Donna. Today we're working on month 7, week 28. So let's go ahead and see how this block has came out. As you can see, there is many colors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors in this block. And as you can see, this block is right here. So it's going to be really pretty. So let me move this out of the way. I'll flip it over. And you've only had this one joining section. For legit kits, I iron anytime I'm FPPing, but specifically for legit, I iron my seams down. And I was marking because I was going to tell you the different colors, what the AF is saffron and so on and so forth. But this far along, you already know what you're doing. So I wanted to show you just the way that this is going to lay out. I'm going to go ahead and build this block in its entirety so that you're going to know this is your finished, but this is your pattern side. So when you're laying your blocks out, you kind of need to be seeing what you're doing. So it's that case of know before you go, kind of. So let me open this up because I want to show you as much information as possible. I'm going to lay these aside so that I have this ready to roll. This is my D6, so it's going to go down here. My C6, my C5, and here. Now, if all of this lines up the way that it should, this is going to look freaking amazing. So let me show you. We've got lines here that we have to meet. And we need to meet these lines and these lines for this to line up in its entirety. So you've got your block pretty square. So all you're going to do is bring them together just like this. Fold them in. And what I like to do to make sure that everything lines up is I'm going to put a pin in place right here. Then I'm going to go up to my corner, but you do the method that works best for you. And then I'm going to put a pin in place here, as we have every time we're joining blocks. And if everything is lined up as it should be, and it is, these should line up just fine. I'm going to go right here and make sure this one lines up. These are really important. And all these little sections, you want to make sure that when you get that 1/4 of an inch, you're lining these up. And then down here, we want this one to line up. And then we're going to come down here, and you've got this color here that needs to line up. Just swell. Let me get this pin in. Looks like I'm over pinning, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go ahead, and it doesn't matter if you're doing top or bottom and top. It's going to be just fine. So line up just as you have any other block that you're doing. You can pull your pins or you can leave them. When I join the blocks, I leave them and just go slow over the pins because I don't want to have a needle break. But I'm using very thin needles and making sure that I have all of this lined up. I'll pull the bottom one out and then I'll just keep going here. I'll pull all of my pins out. And along the way, you'll see me show a few different methods of how to do these blocks. But before I tear, I want to make sure that I've got them lined up. Pinning in place, as you can see, is the key here. And I'm using my tweezers here because it's really important with these blocks that we get as much of this paper out as possible. And you can plan on about 15 minutes if you're joining every step of the way to get these done. If you're really fast at it, you won't have an issue. You make sure you're on your 1/4 of an inch. As you're pinning in place, you should have no problem. Move your paper out of the way and finger press it open. I'm going to go ahead and finger press here. And for right here, I'm just going to roll it until I get it over to the iron. And if they don't want to open, you can always press to one side wherever they want to go and lay. But this is just a quick way to get them in. There's quite a bit of bulk. And that honestly is normal. So now I'll take this and set it aside. And then we're going to do the same here. You're going to line up and pin in place. Make sure that all of your intersections are lining up. You start with your top. That way you're sure, without a doubt. Make sure you pull these in. And I work my way down the block. You've got a lot of bulk right here on this one. So you might have to really manipulate your pin in. And if it bends, that's okay because you need this to go in right. And everywhere you want those seams to line up, you want to pin. Stick your pin straight through, and if everything's lined up, and it is, you won't have any problems. So I'm going to pull the first pin. Stay true to your 1/4 inch. And I like to pinch my papers together as well as the pinning just to make sure that nothing slips. Fabric does shift from time to time because of the papers. We're going to pull these out. Go ahead and pull your paper. Like I said, get as much out as you can. Flip it over and repeat. And if you have it folded good and snug, that should work. We're going to open it up. Look at our seams that they have lined up. Give it a little bit of a pull. And at this time, you can leave just one little color on here. And it's going to work fabulous. So as you can see, we've got all of that in. It's important that I just keep one of these numbers in. So right now, it's okay to start pulling some of this paper off because you don't need it now. And go ahead and get as much out as you can. And this does take a few minutes. And you want to be gentle because you don't want it to pull out your seams that you work so hard to get in. And I'm going to leave this one in because this is going to keep this block section numbered. And then I'll come up and take this one out. And then we'll get this one. And like I said, I'm going to leave this one in. Because as we're building these blocks, you have to have a landmark. So the main number is what I kind of leave in. And I will go back and pick all this residual paper out. But some people go ahead and take it all out at once. You do what works for you. This is just the way that I'm doing mine. So now I've left the paper in for these, and I'll slide this aside. I'm going to pull this out because it's already been joined. And as long as I leave a piece of paper here, and I'm going to leave it in up here, that has all of the markings, I know that that is my D5 section. Prepare to have a nice sized trash can for all of your paper. A shredding party is pretty cool when you get to the point to where you can pull out your papers. It's neat when you can watch it all come together. And the paper helps keep everything from shifting, but as you're joining the larger blocks together, having some of this paper out of the way helps reducing the bulk, and it allows you to be able to shift a little bit if you need to, if something just has to line up. So like I said, get as much out as you can. You can come back later after they're all joined and do the real good picking. But this is just really basically clearing these seams that I'll be able to work this out. And like this piece here, I don't want it caught up when I'm joining this. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that up pretty good because this is where all of that's going to come together. And like I said, it's really important that you leave a number in so that you'll be able to track as you're building the rest of your quilt out. But feel free to go ahead and start tearing paper because you don't need it all. You just need little landing zones per se. So now that I've got my desk a nice hot mess for you, let's get some of this paper cleaned up, and then we'll sew this last section together and move it right along. And I do have my basket under here, so I'm not throwing it on the floor. Okay, now we're going to join these together. This is going to go here, and the C is going to go at the top. So right here, you need to make sure that you just pick it up like this and lay it belly down. You're going to put a pin in it here. And it's going to go straight through and just hold this in place. I'm going to come here to the center because I have to have this center line lined up. So I'm going to pin here as well. I'm going to come over to the corner here. I need this to line up. So anywhere that you need it to line up, pin in place. Then we're down to the corner. And as you can see, that fabric lines up. But as we're sewing, there's a chance it could shift just a tad bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pin in place there as well. So let's sew this baby in and see how she looks. Stay true to your 1/4 inch. Now that you don't have the paper, you really need to watch your 1/4 inch seam allowance. You want to make sure that you have it on the front and the back. And you don't want that wave motion. Just go slow. There's a lot of stretch in this because some of this fabric has been cut now on the bias. You get these pins picked up because I don't want those laying and something happen here. Okay, 5 pins out, 5 pins done. So now let's see how this section looks. I'll press it out after I'm finished with use. But how does that not look amazing? Got a pin here. I need to pull that pin so that'll open up. So as you can see, everything is lining up really well all the way across. And this section is now done. Now that we have all of that 4 pieces put together, we have C5 and C6, D5 and D6 have now all been joined. We'll set those aside and segue into the next month. So I'll see you back again on my channel for month 8. Take care and God bless.